Good morning, my name is Antonella Ficorilli and the title of my talk today is Privacy and the Future Use of Biospecimens and Associated Data, Research Integrity for and with Society. I will address this topic reporting some main aspects in the literature and some ideas that Fabrizio Ruffo and I are working on. Our approach is rooted in the bioethics field and the democratization of science. The subject I will speak about is strictly connected to biobank center research. Let me start by giving some information on research biobanking. This phenomenon regards the collection and storage of human biological samples and associated data in a structured and large-scale manner by institutions specifically created for this purpose, that is, research biobanks, and the distribution and sharing of these materials and data with local, national, and international groups of research for current and future research purposes. The human biological samples involved might be blood, tissues, cells, DNA, etc. The associated data involved are usually personal and clinical data. They might also be lifestyle data. Biospecimens and associated data can be stored, shared, and used in an identifiable form, directly or through one or more codes, and in an unidentifiable form that is completely anonymized. The main possible risk for the single individual, members of his or her biological family, or a group in the use of their biospecimens and associated data in biomedical research is a psychological risk in terms of discrimination, stigmatization, and psychological stress. Why? This risk is connected to the possible misuse of clinical, genetic, and lifestyle information obtained from samples and associated data, and which might be traced back to the person from whom the material originally came. Therefore, this risk concerns identifiable samples and data. Based on the main risk identified, the principle of confidentiality, the respect of privacy, the principle of non-discrimination, together with respect for the principle of autonomy through the request of informed consent, are key ethical standards that researchers must adhere to in order to effectively protect research subjects. As a consequence, compliance with these ethical standards is essential to maintain and foster research integrity and public trust in the scientific field we are investigating. In the light of scientific and participant needs to use identifiable samples and data, the main procedure that was established to collect, store, and use biospecimens and associated data is the code-defined procedure. This means making samples and data reversibly anonymous through a code linked to the name of the individual concerned. This procedure makes it possible to share and use samples and data without knowing the individual's identity, while at the same time making it possible to trace back to it when the identification is required for scientific needs or participants' needs. However, the codified procedure appears not to be an effective tool capable of guaranteeing the anonymity of participants over time. This concern seems to be based on the developments on how to carry out biobank-centered research and the fast and innovative changes in the society with regard to the spread of public databases on the internet. These aspects are increasingly making it possible to match many and different data, raising the risk that de-identified samples and data might be re-identified over time. As you can understand, this risk considerably undermines the main guarantee applied for protecting the privacy of people involved in research biobanking, precisely the use of process of de-identification of samples and data. As a consequence, a key challenge emerges. How can researchers continue to maintain public trust in the field of research biobanking, considering its increasing complexity? To address this emerging challenge, some authors have highlighted the centrality of the principle of transparency to maintain public trust. They suggested that morally responsible researchers should declare the impossibility of keeping the data secret. In other words, they must be transparent about the limits of the current research biobanking system. This way, researchers do not make false promises and avoid betraying the public's trust in the future. I would like you all to notice that researchers ask people to continue to have trust in the scientific system, which in this case is that of research biobanks, in the frame of this proposal. In addition, it is important to notice that this proposal relies on the paternalistic model of relationship between science and society, in which citizens uncritically accept any scientific purpose on the basis of the assumption that the research itself is always good and justified. In other words, the science self-regulation paradigm. However, this model is inadequate in handling the current relationship between science and society. Various reasons have contributed to making the traditional paradigm inadequate over time. However, there are two in particular that are significant. First, events in which institutions and experts appeared unable to handle scientific uncertainty situations and in which, at times, errors of assessments or interest in contrast with the safety and health of citizens have emerged, has made the problem of public trust towards science crucial. For example, just for a moment, consider the OGM event. Second, the growing impact that scientific research results have on people's lives has made it insufficient to evaluate possible consequences on the basis of scientific values and knowledge alone. Hence, the need to take into consideration values and points of view of the society. As a consequence, turning back to the trust challenge, a rebuilding of trust should be based on the recognition of a deep change in the relationship between science and society towards not only regarding greater transparency, but also regarding an active participation of all interested stakeholders. Finally, in this last slide, I would like to report some concluding remarks that Fabrizio Ruffo and I are working on. Just as in medicine, paternalistic ethics was replaced by ethics centered on informed consent. Also in scientific research, it is inevitable that we must shift from scientific paternalism to the participatory model of relationship between science and society. Therefore, it is not just a matter of being transparent about researchers' behavior and the limits of science. It is also a matter of including values and views of society in the decision-making process to envision what is the morally responsible action or decision to be made. Turning back to the case I've presented, that means analyzing how the principles of research integrity should be applied in order to respect and protect participants' privacy, taking into account values and opinions of the participants themselves. Based on this enlargement of perspectives, different worries might appear, such as citizens' concerns about the high financial interests involved in research banking, as well as the role that industry plays in this regard. Thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to debating my topic with you and other speakers during the interactive section on Wednesday, the 23rd of September. Goodbye and have a good day.